Okay, so welcome Year 8 to another remote lesson, courtesy of me, Mr. Halpin. Sorry, I just had to shut the window there because people were talking outside. So I've decided to change it up slightly, so I'm going to be doing it with a whiteboard, which means that you won't see me, which some of you may absolutely love. Who knows? Well, I'll probably stop staring at myself, which I guess is a win. Okay, so what we're going to do in today's lesson is we're going to be looking at what were the consequences of war, and in particular, which war? Yeah, World War One. Well done. So consequences, what consequences mean is what happens because of something else. So what were the consequences of war? What happened because of war? So what did the war cause to happen? So just as normal, a couple of questions for you to have a go at answering. So what you'll need to make sure you've got two coloured pens, preferably blue and black, and maybe a green actually, and some paper or something to do some work on, because you are going to need to make some notes, answer some questions. You can't just sit there and let me talk about everything, because what's going to happen then is, unfortunately, you're just going to forget it. Okay? Memory is all about being able to think about something, and then that thinking about it helps you remember it. That is key. So, questions: what did soldiers of Europe fight in? Who fought in World War One? How were people recruited to fight in World War One? What is a colony, and what caused urbanisation in the Victorian period? So pause it, give yourself 4.5 minutes, maybe 6, to answer these questions, and we'll go through the answers in a second. Okay, great. So here are the answers. Okay, so that is a trench. So they fought in trenches. Sorry for my awful handwriting. Who fought in World War One? So on one side you've got the British, French, and the Russians, but you've also got USA in there, but let's start with these. Then you've got Germany and Austria. Hungary, Italy start out on this side, but then they swap. But then in this you've also got their empires. So I'm going to put plus empires. So both sides have empires. This is the Triple Entente, this is the Triple Alliance. Okay? The way I remember alliance is A, alliance. Okay? Entente is a French word. If you are having trouble getting that right, because a few of your GCSE pods, people are getting that wrong, you have to spend some time trying to remember it. Ask yourself questions on it. So spend 5 minutes trying to remember. Come back 20 minutes later and ask yourself those questions again. If you're still not getting it, keep doing that process, okay? Keep going over the information. How were people recruited to fight? Well, you had propaganda. Remember that A? Propaganda. I don't want to say propaganda. Propaganda. And then you've got conscription. Okay, and then in terms of empire, you can also talk about they wanted money / status. What is a colony? So a colony is all about empire. So a colony, area controlled by an empire. So India was a colony of the British Empire. South Africa was a colony of the British Empire. Jamaica was a colony of the British Empire. What caused urbanisation in the Victorian period? Industrial Revolution. This created jobs in factories, so people then went to the town to get that job because they wanted that money. Okay? Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm just going to quickly go over a few errors in some of our GCSE Pod Answers, okay? A few people are making a few mistakes, so I'm just going to go over that now, okay? Okay, so out of the GCSE pods, the two questions that we need to sort of go over and sort of focus on a little bit more is, what did the assassination cause and why did the assassination happen? Okay, so the assassination is when one person killed another. So what happened was Franz Ferdinand, and I've drawn him with a crown because he was the Archduke. He was the son of the leader of the Austrian Hungarian Empire. So empire meant he controlled other. So imagine if this is Austria and Hungary, they control other places. So these would be the what if this is the empire and they control these other areas, what would this be called? Just give yourself time to think about it. You can write down a definition of the answer if you think you know it. Okay, these would be colonies. Okay, colonies. Now, one of those places was a place called Bosnia. Okay, Bosnia. And a man from Bosnia was not happy. He did not like Franz Ferdinand and the Austrian-Hungarian Empire controlling his place. He did not like being told what to do, not respected, and not being treated fairly in his own country. So he was really, really angry. He then decided to shoot and kill Franz Ferdinand. So that is why it happened. Now, if we had to come up with a key word to say that Gavrilo Princip loves being Bosnian and therefore hated someone else trying to control him, what word would we use? What word would we use? Write it down with a pen and paper. So write the word and the definition that you think it means. If you need extra time, pause it. Okay, as a bit of a hint, it begins with an N and it caused the First World War. So it is nationalism. Okay, if you're struggling to know what that word means, well, let's take the word apart. I saw an English teacher doing this, so I thought I'd copy. So nation, the English nation, the British nation. It's basically another word for country. Okay, and then ism is always used to talk about something. So for instance, if you are, so it's talking about something. So for instance, if you are a racist, then you follow racism. Okay, so if you are all about the country and you follow your country, you're a national, you follow nationalism. So all about country. Okay, so if you're all about your country, you're a nationalist. And that is what led Gavrilo Princip, because he loved Bosnia, hated it being controlled, so he shot Gavrilo Princip. Now what I'd like you to do is I would like you now to answer the question, why did the assassination happen? Okay, why did the assassination happen? Take you about 3 minutes, answer it. Okay, so we're now going to look at what did the assassination cause. So remember, Gavrilo Princip shoots Franz Ferdinand. Now, he was the second to Austria. So his dad got a bigger crown because he's the dad. says, I hate you, to people that helped Gavrilo Princip. So this was to Serbia. So I'll just draw it with an S as a head. So you know it's, I hate Serbia. I hate Serbia. You did this. He's blaming Serbia for helping Gavrilo Princip. And before you know it, Russia step up and they help Serbia. They're then having a go at Austria. And before you know it, Germany then help Austria. So now I've got Germany and Austria against Serbia and Russia. But a friend of Russia's is France. So now you've got Germany, Austria against Serbia, Russia and France. Now, who's a friend of Russia and France? Britain. So GB. So now all these people are having a go at each other. And this is what causes the First World War. Okay? This is what causes the First World War. Now what I'd like you to do is I would like you to answer not what did the assassination cause, but how did the assassination cause World War One? And I want you to use lots of keywords like assassination, nationalism, alliances, militarism, and imperialism. Okay, that is a question that I would like you to answer, and then I would like you to actually send me a picture, or if you've written it on your laptop or computer or whatever you're doing it on, I would like you to send it to me in an email. I'll write the email up here because I would like to mark that answer for you. Okay, you know me, year 8, I love me some work and I'm getting bored, so the more work you can give me, the better. Alright, I want to do lots and lots of marking for you as a class, so send me as much as you can. That's my email. Send me the answer to that question and I will get it marked for you. Okay, so there's the question. You've already had the keywords. If you needed to go back, pause it and give yourself a chance. Okay, so now we're going to move on. We're going to answer that question of what were the consequences of World War One. Now, remember, how is World War One fought? Well, it's fought in trenches, isn't it? Yeah? You've got both sides shooting at each other. So you've got people getting up and getting killed. So as soon as they get up, you've got thousands dead. How many people were killed on the first day? How many British people were killed on the first day of the Somme? Okay, just have a think about that and see if you can answer it. Okay, it's 20,000 on the first day of the Somme, and then injured, you're talking 60,000, just under. Okay, so you've got people firing at each other, you've got people firing huge rockets and bombs at each other. So we have loads and loads of dead people. So in total, we have 8 million. That's 6 zeros. 8 million soldiers dead. Okay, let's see where this is going. In total, we have 9 million. So again, that's 6 zeros. Civilians dead. Now a civilian is someone that isn't in the army or the navy, isn't a soldier. So this is just a normal person. So I've drawn him there with a pen. Okay, he's a normal, or she is a normal person. She's not a soldier. So an innocent person is dead. 9 million innocent people were killed. So this was often with stray bullets or with rockets going on, or when soldiers got to towns and they'd kill people there. Because of the rockets, you've got homes destroyed. So I'm going to draw it here with smashed windows, doors lopsided. Okay, we had 300 houses destroyed. Factories are destroyed. Okay, factories are destroyed. So I'm going to draw this with a big thing here. 6,000 factories are destroyed. So, what I'd like to do now, think about one of the other topics. What is this part here the opposite of? So 6,000 factories are destroyed. What is that kind of like the opposite of that we've already looked at? All right, pause it and give yourself about 40 seconds to think about that question. Okay, well, I was thinking about, back to the starter question, and I was thinking about the Industrial Revolution, because that's something that creates loads of factories. So it's kind of like the opposite, because this is now getting rid of them. Okay, so that is how I'd think of that. It's the opposite. Okay, now these are what I would consider the physical things that happened. Okay, the physical things. Right, now what I'd like to do is tell me which do you think is the worst and which is the best or least worst, and then create an order. So create an order of 1, 2, 3, 4 things and tell me why they are such a problem. Okay, why is it a problem that factories are destroyed? Why is it a problem that civilians are dead? Why is it a problem that soldiers are dead? Okay, so come up with a listing and then tell me why each thing is a problem. Give yourself 4 minutes to do that now. Okay, well, let's have a look at some of the answers. Okay, so well, some of the things that I think. Factories are destroyed. Well, what's a factory? That's where someone goes to work. If the factories are gone, where are people going to work? Well, no, they're not going to go to work. Oh, great, don't have to go to work. Oh, but I'm not going to get paid. Oh, damn. If I can't get paid, I can't eat food. If I can't eat food, I can't live. So this might cause more people to die. Houses. Oh, well, my house is destroyed. I'm going to have to sleep outside. Oh, that's not great. What if it rains? Oh, that's awful. What if it's cold in the middle of winter? Oh, I'll be really, really cold. So cold, I might actually die. So this might cause more people to die. Okay? Or, if you've got people without homes and without jobs, you might have crime. People are stealing from each other. That's not very good. Civilians are dead. So mothers, brothers, sisters, fathers are all dead. Imagine if the person who earned the most money in the family is dead. Well, now the whole family might not be able to eat enough to survive. So they're going to die. If a civilian's dead, someone who didn't join the army, well, then everyone's going to be shocked, aren't they? And then that's going to cause mental health problems for the family. Soldiers are dead. What happens if another country invades? You're not going to feel safe, are you? What if there's a lot of crime going on? You might not have enough soldiers to try and stop the crime in case it gets really, really bad. So these are some of the explanations about why these things are really, really damaging to the world. Okay, so I'm just going to shuffle this on because we're going to get a little bit off the physical changes now and more on to one of the most important changes that happens in Britain. Okay, now, before the war, women weren't allowed to vote for the government. So the people who make the rules, so the people at the top of a country, they make the rules, and women weren't allowed to vote for them. Okay? So men were allowed to vote, women were not. Now imagine if the woman, or women in general, wanted to change a law. So let's say, for instance, there was a law that said women who were married had to give all their money to their husband. Well, they're going to love it, they're going to hate it, aren't they? How are the women going to change that law? Well, if I was going to change the law, I'd vote for the government and put in a government that I liked. Vote for someone I liked. Think of it like in school. Imagine you didn't like your teacher and you wanted to change your teacher. Now imagine if half the class were allowed to vote for that new teacher. Well, they would be allowed to vote for what they liked, but you wouldn't be allowed to vote for what you liked. So, for instance, the next day a new teacher might come in and you may hate them as well, but you can't do anything about it. So it was the same with rules in Britain. So they were unhappy about it. They didn't like it. So what they decided to do is they decided they were going to change the law. They were going to change the law, and they were going to do this by campaigning. Now what this means is they're trying to change something. They're going on a mission. It's like a mission. If you play Xbox games or something, quite often the main mission in the game is called the campaign. Okay, so it's a large mission. The mission is to change the law. So some of them would go out on protests. There'd be thousands of them with massive placards saying they want to vote, they want power. Some people even set off explosives. Okay, some people even set off explosives. So one MP's house was destroyed by a bomb. Other times they broke a shop window. Okay, so they might throw stones at shop windows. They're trying to get attention. So some people were violent, other people were peaceful. So the group that were peaceful were called the suffragists, and the people that were violent were called the suffragettes. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail in this, but this is something we're going to cover this year. So the suffragists and suffragettes, they were trying to change the law. Suffrage basically is a posh word for vote. So they were trying to get the vote. They were trying to make the government change their mind and get to vote. Alright, now, before I overload you with loads and loads of information, just based on this very, very small amount of information, I just want you to think, who do you think was going to cause the most amount of change? The people doing it peacefully, or the people doing violent acts to try and get the government to listen to them? Who do you think, peaceful or violent? Right, what I'd like you to do is come up with an answer that's 30 words or less. So try and be really, really succinct, but really try and explain it. Okay, well, this is completely up to you. I'd argue that you can't, that if they were just there, then they'd just get stopped and they'd get thrown in prison. But if it was just peaceful, someone might ignore them. So I'd actually say both are really, really important. I know, I sort of went with the easy option there, but that's what I'm like. Now, this was just before World War One. This was just before. Now, World War One happens. Okay, time of emergency. What would you do if you were the suffragists or the suffragettes? What would you do? Okay, well, you might carry on. You might carry on and use this as a chance to get them to change their mind because they're focused on the war, so they might just give them anything. But these people weren't like that. These people thought, no, this is a really, really important time, so we're now no longer going to be doing anything violent. We're not going to be attacking the government. We're not going to be campaigning for the right to vote. What we are going to do instead is we're going to help out. Right? We're going to go to work and we are going to help out. So this is someone with a hammer, a lunchbox because they're off to work. So they're going to go to work, go to the factory, and they're going to try and help the country win. So, for instance, they may make, and many women did, many women actually made bullets. They may make bombs. Okay? Some women even went out into the field and became a farmer. Some of them drove ambulances around the country. Now these were all jobs that women didn't do before, but they did during the war. Look at that amazing drawing. Okay, so these were all helping the soldiers. The soldiers need the bullets to fire the gun, and they need the bombs to blow up the enemy. So these were all really, really important things. Now, 1918, who wins the war? Who wins the war? Okay, well, Britain are part of the people that win. So they're really, really happy. Really, really happy. Yay, we've won, we've won, we've won. Perfect, great. Now, the men come back. So now they go back to the factory. They go back to being farmers. They go back to being drivers. So now women don't have any more jobs to do. Obviously, this is a gross sort of simplification. I'm not talking about every single woman. I'm just talking about women in general. But it was a sexist time. So when the men came back, women kind of had to give up their jobs. But also, there weren't that many jobs available, as in factories weren't creating bullets anymore. But they still can't vote. And they did all that hard work. So the government actually kind of think about it like, well, let's weigh it up. Let's weigh it up. You've got the problems caused by the women voting, women wanting voting, so you've got them doing it peacefully, but you've then got the explosion. And then on the other side, you've got the fact that they did loads of work, didn't they? They were out in the field working. They were making the bullets. So they had to weigh it up. Which is better? Is it better that they go back to campaigning, or is it better that we look after them because they did such a good job? And what they say is, you can vote now. They give women the right to vote. So now women are allowed to vote for the government. Okay? And this was in 1918. Okay, 1918, women are given the right to vote. Now that's amazing, isn't it? Okay, that is amazing. All women now are allowed to vote. Oh wait, no, not all women. Only if you're 30 plus and you own property. And what that means is you own land or a house, okay? So basically what I take this to mean is 30 and you're rich. If you're over 30 and you've got money, you're allowed to vote. So unfortunately, if you're 29, can't vote. If you're 31, you haven't got any money, can't vote. So it wasn't perfect, but it was better. So if we have to look at women's voting or women's power in Britain over time, we're definitely starting to go up, aren't we? Okay? We're starting to get better. Great. Okay, now, what I would like you to do is I would like you to answer the question, how is the experience of women similar to something we have already studied? So I'm going to be a bit tricky with that. That's a tricky question. You have to think about what you studied this year, what you studied before in year 7. So that is actually a really, really hard question, but I'll be so pleased if you give that a go. Have about 3 minutes to think about it. Really, really try. Pause it now. Try and think back to everything that you've done in Year 7 and Year 8. Okay, so some things to think about would be the Civil War, Magna Carta, or the Peasants' Revolt. Okay, so now try and include those in your answer if you haven't already. Right, so what I'd say is the Civil War was about power. The king was too powerful, so they wanted to stop him, and they had a war to make him less powerful and Parliament more powerful. Now, it didn't include women, but it was making everyday people powerful. So if you had to think about democracy in Britain, democracy was definitely getting better at that point. Not amazing, but getting better. Also, it starts off Parliament being powerful. Well, that's what women were voting for. They were voting for people to go into Parliament. So that's definitely linked. Okay, the Magna Carta. Magna Carta was also about making the king less powerful. Okay, so if we have to plot the king's power, over time, it's going down. And if you had to plot everyday people's power over time, it's going up. Peasants' Revolt. Peasants were poor people. This was about them trying to get more power. Now, unfortunately, they were unsuccessful, but they're trying to fight for power. Similar to the women. Much, much later, 600 and something years later, but they're trying, aren't they? Okay, now, what I'd like you to think about now is I would like you to try now and think about why that is such an important change. Why is what happened to women such an important change? Why is this important? Okay, why is this such an important change? Well, could women vote now if not for this moment? Maybe not. Maybe not. You don't know. With history, there's loads and loads of what ifs. Yes, it didn't give every woman the right to vote, but it was a change. It was a huge change. That change might not have come without this. So it's massively important. But when I'm asking why, you have to constantly explain. You have to constantly ask yourself why. Why? 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 So why is this important? Women got the vote. Why is that important? They had more power. Well, why did they have more power? They were able to change the people in charge. Why is that important? Oh, with the why. Oh, you've got to keep doing it though. I know it's frustrating, but you've got to keep doing it. Why? Because at the moment, this still isn't a good enough answer. Why was it able to change people? Because then you can change the law. Why is that important? It affects all parts of life. Okay, I remember so many people say, well, why is politics important? Well, politics is important because it affects your life. So, for instance, if the government make a law and it changes something small like the speed limit, everyone's got to follow that law. If it changes who can get a job, well, that changes how much money someone's going to get. That's really, really important. So voting is important because it gives women the power to change their lives and other people's lives. So it's massively important. Massively. Bear in mind, at this point, some women weren't really allowed in certain jobs because of sexism. Well, they can start to change this, can't they? Okay, now a really, really tricky question coming up, but I have faith in you now. Okay? Thinking back to last lesson, what was another consequence of war? What was another consequences of war? how is it similar? So what I'd like you to do, draw a Venn diagram, so 2 circles. In here we can have women winning the vote, and you can give me 3 or 4 things about that. So you can say why, how, and what, and give me a little bit more information. And then what I want you to do is give me the other consequence of war, give me a little bit of information about that, and then tell me how they are similar. Okay, so this bit is here is how they are similar, how are they the same. Alright, now this should take you about 6 minutes because it is really, really tricky and you've got to really think hard. Okay, so how are these things similar, and what is this other thing? What's the other consequence of war? Okay, so pause it and give yourself a chance. Alright, so here are some, for those people who think they're finished or were really struggling, here are some hints to help you, okay? So think about empire, think about power, okay? Think about empire and think about power. Think about freedom. Okay, so now use those to go back and give yourself another minute to try and come up with what that other consequence of war is. Okay, so what I'd say is the other consequence is the empire control increasing, okay? Or empire size expanding, getting bigger. Okay, now give me a few pieces of information about that. Where have we learned that their British Empire got bigger? Where have we learned about the effects of that? So what happened in India? Okay, now give yourself 2 more minutes to try and tell me a little bit more information about that and come up with how they're similar. Alright, we'll come to those back. So, women rights in the vote, I talk about suffragists and suffragettes. Say they stopped campaigning, worked in factories, farms, won the vote for 30 plus in 1918, and if they had money. Okay, then India called for freedom. So right here what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw someone's chains breaking because they're free. But were attacked. So we're killed at Amrit. So that's different, isn't it? But how are they the same? Well, both about power and politics. They won, they lost. Okay? So it's part of the answer, okay? But if you've got any more, what I'd like you to do is email them across to me. Right, and as always, Year 8, have a lovely time and stay safe. Make sure you're doing your work. After this, complete the GCSE pod that I've given you. Okay, look forward to marking your work.